Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. And today the top stories are as follows that we'll be discussing during the course of the show. We will be talking about the surge in the terror attacks as far as Pakistan is concerned. In this latest spate of attacks, the ISPR has stated that 5 soldiers from the frontier Corps Balochistan have been martyred in an ambush after terrorists targeted a patrolling party in Sibbi's Sangan area. Now, this is not the first time in these recent days that we've heard of such terrorist incidents that have been happening in Pakistan. There is a certain surge. What is the reason behind it? Why this timing? Does this have anything to do with the Afghan peace process, a US withdrawal, the FATF, or anything else, or pressure tactic on Pakistan directly or indirectly? We'll be talking about that as our first segment. Then we'll be talking about the meeting that has happened between Narendra Modi and 14 Kashmiri leaders in New Delhi. As far as the outcome of this meeting is concerned, nothing tangible has really come out, although Mehbooba Mufti did point out that she wanted a reversal of the current state as far as the Article 370 and 35A in Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Although Narendra Modi has already talked about delimitation of the Jammu and Kashmir region, but there are certain differences that have emanated between the parties and Narendra Modi. We'll be talking about that in our second segment. Then we'll be talking about Michael Jackson's 12th death anniversary that is being observed today. Michael Jackson is a name that everybody knows across the world. He was a pop icon and he was loved by billions and billions, and 11 years back, in fact, he lost his life. And finally, we'll be talking about the International Day Against Drug Abuse, which happens on the 26th of June, which is going to be tomorrow. That is Saturday. Every year on the 26th of June, the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking is observed across the world to understand and to try to stop the flow of drugs in the society across the world. Now let's come to our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the surge in the terror attacks that has been happening in Pakistan. Latest that has occurred in Sangan area in Sibbi. More in the following report.
Terror incidents are seemingly gathering momentum in the country. The attack ensued against the backdrop of hasty US military drawdown from Afghanistan, followed by surge in violence and internecine fighting. Since Biden's decision in April to pull out all US troops before September 11 to end America's longest war after nearly 20 years of conflict, at least 30 districts have been seized by Taliban. As American withdrawal will liquidate current security infrastructure in Afghanistan, the geostrategic, regional, and national security environment of Pakistan is drastically changing. Regional actors are already concerned that without sustainable international security engagement, Afghanistan might become hotbed of terror proxies. Pakistan has always vehemently responded to destabilizing tendencies by timely response such as military operations, Zarb-e-Azb in North Waziristan, Operation Raddul Fasad, and myriad smaller operations. As terrorism might rear its ugly head again, execution of National Action Plan to supplement the ongoing offensive against militancy is crucial. Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmad condemned the terrorist attack and paid tribute to the martyred soldiers. Earlier, Premier Imran Khan, in his opinion piece for the Washington Post, already mentioned that our country has suffered so much from the wars in Afghanistan. More than 70,000 Pakistanis have been killed. The Prime Minister further warned that if there is further civil war instead of political settlement, there will be many more refugees, destabilizing the further impoverishing the frontier areas on our border.
Now to talk more about the surge in terrorist activities in Balochistan, of course, which is Pakistan. We'll be discussing this issue in detail, the different prospects and aspects of it with the Air Commodore Iftikhar Ahmad Bajwa. He's an international affairs analyst and he joins us in the studios. Thank you very much, Air Commodore Saab, to have joined us. Air Commodore Saab, all of a sudden in these last few days we see an increase in such terrorist incidents, especially happening in Balochistan or in KPK as well. Why is this happening at this particular moment? What is the reason in your point of view?
The reason is very obvious. It is directly linked to US forces withdrawal from Afghanistan, and there are players and parties who do not want this, I would say, amicable withdrawal of US forces, and that too happening so sudden. They are actually moving out, and they want to move out pretty quickly. This is not being seen as by many spoilers, so to say, in a positive sense, and they like to take the opportunity and destabilize Pakistan the way they have been always wanting to do.
Now, Air Commodore Saab, one aspect is the withdrawal of the US forces and the NATO forces. The other aspect is our Prime Minister completely denying the US giving them any base for drones or any other thing so that they could control Afghanistan indirectly. Does that also have to do with this decision in your point of view?
It certainly has to do with this decision. Pakistan has very categorically denied any availability of the bases of to the US troops on ground in Pakistan. On the other hand, we perhaps have not been very successful in assuring Afghan Taliban that we will not be giving any bases or any facilities.
But why is that, Commodore Saab? We do share a good rapport with the Afghan Taliban. It is because of our efforts that the Afghan Taliban and the US did come together for talks in 2020.
Yes, agreed. We have suffered a lot for them, I would say, and we have suffered a lot for Afghanistan. We've been on good terms and we brought them to negotiating table also. We helped them negotiate a deal to withdraw. But see, they like to be very independent, and they are skeptical about Pakistan's support to US troops as we have done in the history. So they remain, I would say, suspicious about Pakistan. And on the other hand, I think our Prime Minister has very categorically denied, and I think we are very clear in what we as Pakistan we have to do.
All right. Now, where does that leave A, the relationship of Pakistan with Afghanistan, B, the relationship of Afghanistan with the spoilers that have been trying to create havoc in Pakistan?
There are the situation in Afghanistan is not as simple as perhaps we at times tend to think. It's complex. It's not one group. It's many parties. There are parties, there are groups who are, say, liked or supported to an extent by Pakistan, and there are groups who are liked or supported by the spoilers, so to say. So both type of groups are available in Afghanistan, and Pakistan and India both like to take an advantage or a leverage out of their relationship with a certain group. And we, being their next door neighbor and sort of their main supply route when it comes to their sea trade, we've been enjoying definitely a better edge, and we are certainly in a better position to negotiate anything with them. But there are many groups there also, and with Taliban also there are factions, and Tehreek-e-Taliban, like Pakistan is
the ISIS as well.
ISIS and Al-Qaeda. There are many more groups, and they are, I would say, offshoots. They are working. So when it comes to the stability in the region, they don't like that Pakistan should actually be very stable, and its outlook should be of a very responsible and a very stable country. They like the situation in Pakistan to be the same as they like to see it.
All right. Let's talk about India. Let's talk about the main spoiler. I mean, let's put things very bluntly. We know what the situation in India is, whether it be economically or otherwise, or the instability amongst different sections of the society is concerned, or the way India is progressing or not, in fact, since COVID-19 hit the country along with others, including Pakistan. Is that also a ploy of India to continue to destabilize Pakistan, because it itself is in a state where it feels that in the next couple of years, if it continues in the same vein and Pakistan continues in the same vein, Pakistan is going to come up very soon and stronger than India?
This had been an old strategy by India that to divert international attention from their internal issues, which are actually many. There are many separatist groups, there are human rights violations, safety, security issues inside India, and there are then other things. So to divert the attention, their simplest and most linear thing always had been that they had been doing something with Pakistan to show the world that it was Pakistan which is responsible for something bad going on in India. Whereas the fact on ground is that Indians don't think they're enough to prove that they have issues, and they have serious issues.
True, true. Where does that leave the United Nations in your point of view, Air Commodore Saab? Because do you feel that in the coming months, now that the US troops and the NATO troops are withdrawing from Afghanistan, and in order to create stability in that country, and also paradoxically in Pakistan and indirectly in Pakistan, because of course whatever happens in Pakistan, this instability, these incidents that we are seeing happen from across the border. Do you feel that the United Nations is going to play a major role in the months to come, or should play a major role in the months to come?
Traditionally speaking, and I don't think United Nations had been effective, or maybe all that effective as that we perhaps, or many of the people, they expect them to be. I don't think that there will be a big role by United Nations which will be played to stabilize the region, especially when it comes to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and US troops withdrawal from Afghanistan. I don't think United Nations has anything on agenda like this.
Commodore Sir, what kind of measures do you feel that we need to go forward with more stringently, more effectively in the days and the weeks to come, now seeing that there's a surge in terrorist activities? Of course, we know that the border fencing is going on with Afghanistan and with Iran. Do you feel that we need to come up with measures so that this becomes even more quicker, so that this is effectively handled in the right manner, so that there is no influx of terrorists from across the border into Balochistan?
Yes, I'm very certain that we need to take some very stringent measures. The first thing I would say is that we need to reassure those factions of Taliban that we help them negotiate a deal that we are not providing, and we are actually not providing any basis to the Americans. While they have to withdraw, they have to take their people and equipment away. They have to use Pakistani territory to take it out, because that is the only route that they brought their stuff in. And we don't give, that is the first thing that we need to assure them, because they are very categorical in saying that Pakistan should not do it, and we should assure them. That is the first thing.
In fact, they've said not only Pakistan, but no foreigner.
No foreigners, actually, what they've said. Second thing, I think we are, I would say, in a very good position to undertake this surge in terrorism if it takes place, which is definitely likely to take. Because we have gone through a much heavier surge in the past, and we have a lot of, I would say, experience in handling such a thing, from security on ground, intelligence sharing, gathering, collection, and we have a psychological thing in handling this type of a thing. I think all our security forces, they need to redo or revamp or just re-equip their security infrastructure. I don't think it is going to be very difficult. It is going to be, I would say, it is going to cause us some damage. I don't wish, and I don't think that it will be a lot of damage. We just need to do what we have been doing earlier, and we have, as we have gone through it. It is easy for us to handle it. So that is that we have to actually reinvigorate our security infrastructure that we built in 2009, 8, or 10 when we saw the surge. Third thing is that we need to be negotiating, and we need to be telling people as to what exactly Pakistan is doing. Pakistan has played a very positive role when it comes to this deal. And now Pakistan is actually pursuing that peace deal in Afghanistan.
In fact, had it not been for Pakistan, both sides would not have
gotten together on a negotiating table. And now Pakistan is actually very aggressively pursuing that peace deal, which we need to tell international media and other players that we are helping. And a peaceful Afghanistan is excellent arrangement for Pakistan. And we always, as Pakistanis, we've been wanting a very peaceful Afghanistan.
Now, there are two aspects that I'd like your point of view on. A, intelligence sharing between Pakistan, the US, and Afghanistan. And B, now that the current Afghan leaders of the Afghan government, such as Abdullah or Ashraf Ghani, are in the US, What kind of a deal is being maneuvered in your point of view in Washington as we speak? What would be the outcome of their visit? Would that pave the way for some kind of a solution to the current crisis in Afghanistan? These are two aspects of the question that I'd like your point of view on. A, how important is intelligence sharing between the US, Pakistan and Afghanistan under this current circumstance when we see a surge in terrorism in Pakistan that comes from across the border? And B, what will be the impact of the visit of these Afghan leaders in the US as far as the future of Afghanistan and peace is concerned?
Intelligence sharing is important, but effective only when there is an absolute confidence between the parties that all the parties are pursuing absolutely one goal, which actually is not the case. The aims and objectives at times they conflict. But still, when it comes to making peace, I think intelligence sharing is very important between Pakistan, US and Afghan agencies. Secondly, when it comes to making a peace deal, it's very simple. What next in Afghanistan after the US troops or US forces they leave? Because whatever amount of stability existed in Afghanistan, it is presumed that that stability existed because of the presence of the foreign forces there and their equipment and their people training local Afghan national defense forces, which will not continue the same way. As analysts say, that no airframe in Afghanistan will remain serviceable for more than few months after the US contractors who are maintaining their air fleet, they go off. So what next? What next is a government or a system of governance in Afghanistan. How to go about that? So that is actually, these are the broad outlines of the peace deal, that what next? And what next, Pakistan's effort is that whatever next should be, should be peaceful, should not be bloody.
Will it be peaceful?
Well, looking at the history, it may not be easy to say that it would be peaceful, it may not be, but looking at the commitment of Afghan people and their, I would say, they've been so much into it for so long that many of the factions and people in Afghanistan actually want peace. So that urge of the people or desire of the people may push their leaders, regardless of what faction they belong to, a peaceful Afghanistan. So that push may actually be helpful for all the parties, that the deal is, or they are able to. And Afghans are actually, as factions, they are, I would say, excellent in negotiating, and when it comes to commitment, they like to keep the commitment.
And final question, very frank answer, sir. How much do you feel is there going to be a continuation of that surge in terrorist activities in Pakistan, especially in Balochistan and KP? And how much of this is will be related to what is happening in Afghanistan?
I think it would continue for reasonably long, and how long it will actually be depending upon the situation, what comes up next in Afghanistan.
All right.
If the peace deal between all the factions in Afghanistan is, say, finalized, this surge would actually calm down.
All right.
The terrorism in Pakistan will actually be, it will be less affected, or there will be less incidents in Pakistan.
All right.
So the most important thing is that we as Pakistan, United States, and all the parties involved, they come to some
Central Asian countries,
Central
China,
Asian,
Russia.
Russia. Even I would say that India, I mean, this, besides being
because we know the Taliban have also talked to India.
They have talked to India, and they like to talk to anybody and everybody, not only Pakistan. So we should be keeping that in mind. So with that, I think if a stable government or a stable system of governance comes up in Afghanistan, that would be helpful for Pakistan, and that would stabilize Pakistan as far as the terrorism surge is concerned at this point in time.
Thank you very much, Air Commodore Iftikhar Ahmad Bajwa sahab, to have come all the way to the studios and to have talked very candidly about the situation in Afghanistan and how its repercussions are coming up in Pakistan in the form of this surge in terrorist activities. Ladies and gentlemen, we all believe in an Afghan-led peace process, and that is primordial not only for the future of a more stable and secure Afghanistan, but also for a more stable and secure Pakistan. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns the meeting that has occurred between Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and 14 leaders of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whether it be Umar Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, or others. Although no tangible outcome has been seen of that meeting between the two parties, there have been certain discussions, and as per Narendra Modi says, some kind of a way forward. To talk more about what the designs of India are as far as Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is, how important is this meeting that has happened between the Kashmiri leaders and Narendra Modi. We've been joined by Qamar Cheema. He's an international affairs analyst, foreign affairs expert. Qamar Cheema Saab, pleasure to have you on our show. You've heard and you've read the reports post the meeting between Narendra Modi and the 14 Kashmiri leaders. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much, Bajwa, for inviting. I think, first of all, what we need to understand that what happened 2 years back when Narendra Modi revoked Article 370 and 35A, and they put all these Kashmiri leaders behind bars, and the fundamental rights of all these people were taken away. And then we realized that Narendra Modi and his leadership punished these people by not letting them to speak to the international community, by blocking their communication lines. Nobody could have talked to all these people. And now after 2 years, Prime Minister Modi has thought that he should talk to all these people for making a way forward. And above all, Narendra Modi didn't invite them to listen to them or to listen to the grievances of the Kashmiri people and the Kashmiri leadership. He invited them to give his verdict that he is going for delimitation of the Kashmir. So, Bhatt Sahib, the point to ponder is that the entire India is going to have delimitation in 2026, but for Kashmir, the delimitation is to be now. So he wants to do it before he leaves office in 2024, since Prime Minister Modi understands that he has lost the popularity because of this COVID crisis in India and the bad governance and
also the farmers' protest that happened.
So this overemphasis on the premature success of eliminating COVID-19, and now he saw that all things have turned against him. So now he's turning back on Kashmir, putting some political things in Kashmir, trying to divert the attention of its people and the global media, and giving and telling the international community, look, I'm giving the fundamental rights. Sir, this is the point to look at, that the Kashmiris, they need to stand up for their fundamental rights, because if this delimitation happens now, this delimitation will empower all those people who are pro-Modi, who are pro-BJP, and the true Kashmiris won't be in a position. So they want to divide the votes of the Kashmiri people. They want the Kashmiris to lose that majority. So the people from one constituency will be put in other constituency. So this is one way to discredit the democratic rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
All right, Qamar Cheema Saab, when it comes to Umar Abdullah or Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, they've all been allies to the BJP or Narendra Modi's party. Do you feel they are really sincere to the Kashmiri people?
Well, I think, but since they have been allies with the BJP and in the past, they don't have any, revolutionary ideas to support the Kashmiri people. They have the ideas to engage and to get themselves empowered under any circumstances. So in reality, what we find is that Mehbooba Mufti or Umar Abdullah and the others, they believe that they have lost that legitimacy. So they want to keep the Kashmiris happy, and they also want to keep the Delhi happy. So they also want to keep the BJP happy, because they understand that their politics in Kashmir is no more that much acceptable. So they want to get incentives from the BJP as well. So not a big hope from all these people. The hope belongs to the people of Kashmir who are really facing a hard time in the times of
But
Narendra
Qamar
Modi.
Cheema Saab, if the hope really belongs to the people of Kashmir and what they will do in the future, that will determine where Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir will go, which direction it will take. Then, when we see the number of troops that are still there in the region, when we see all the barbaric and inhuman activities that are being perpetrated on these people, do you feel that they still have the resolve to move forward despite all the opposition that is coming their way?
Well, I think the struggle is to be done by the people. The struggle will never come from the top leadership who have their own vested interests because they believe in the power politics, but Sahib. So, how to motivate the general public, the masses, the deprived people who do not even enjoy the fundamental rights, even the way the rest of India enjoys. So it depends on them that how they are motivated. So now recently, even some of the communication has been reopened in Kashmir. So there is a probability that we can ask and we can make our Kashmiri brothers and sisters and we can realize and make them realize that there is a way forward if they all gather, if they come together, if they make a way for themselves, and if they really believe that their struggle will bring some results. And let me tell you, but Sahib, the leadership of the Kashmiri people should be in the hands of the young people. The young people need to come forward. The old stalwarts, they have their own vested interests. So the youth needs to come forward. They need to make political parties. They need to make their voices heard through proper channels. Otherwise, from all these old political leadership, we do not have any hope who have their hopes more from the BJP than from the people of Kashmir.
With all the kinds of maneuvering, Qamar Cheema Saab, that India is making regionally and internationally and globally, with all the important players that be, do you feel that the Kashmiri struggle will still go stronger by the day with the resolve of the youth of Kashmir, with the resolve of the people of Kashmir that want their right to self-determination?
But Sahib, Kashmir issue is not a dispute between two countries. It is a dispute where the fundamental and humanitarian support is to be given to the deprived people of Kashmir. So when it comes to Kashmir, that means a humanitarian crisis. So what we want is that, and what we have been telling the global society is that the Kashmiris should get all those rights which they have lost in the regime of Narendra Modi. That is what is needed. So all what is needed, we can shake the conscience of the global community. We can shake the conscience of the Muslim world. We can keep telling the humanitarian bodies around the globe, and we can keep telling the international press time and again, which we have been telling, and somehow the international press has listened to the voiceless people of the Kashmir that yes, their miseries are too much. Yes, their miseries are not, their miseries must end. So all what matters right now is that the continuity in the struggle must not end. The difficult time has passed. The only thing what is required now is Pakistani leadership. They also need to be tough on India in case there is a real, legitimate, and real solution. If there is no proper solution, then at the end of the day, we should also not waste the time of the Kashmiris because they are facing the hard time right now.
Very much, Qamar Cheema Saab, to have talked to us about this very, very important issue that plagues the subcontinent, that is the right to self-determination for the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We want them to have this right, and we want them to have this plebiscite before India further delimits and changes the demography of this region further, so that the people, the genuine people of this region, are then in a couple of years no longer able to vote or fight for their rights it is high time that these people, these very citizens of the region, stand up for their true rights. Let's come to the next story, ladies and gentlemen. That is about the IAEA that has awarded Pakistan's nuclear institution scientists. And of course, this is a joint award that has been conferred by the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Food and Agriculture Organization on Pakistan's Nuclear Institute for Agriculture and Biology and 5 of our country's scientists. Now, of course, extensive civilian nuclear applications in Pakistan that are contributing to the well-being of the people and national development in the areas of public health, medicine, agriculture, industry, nuclear power generation is what has led to these 5 scientists being conferred with these awards by the IAEA and the FAO. Now, there is the Team Achievement Award. There, another scientist has been given the Young Scientist Award for his work in plant mutation breeding and related technologies. And these awards will be given to the recipients at the IAEA's 65th General Conference that will be held later in September this year. Congratulations to all of these scientists, and of course Pakistan is going way up as far as nuclear technology and of course all the scientific work that it is undergoing since the many years, and it is so good to see that the international organizations are acknowledging Pakistan's work. Now let's go to Michael Jackson. This is a name everybody knows across the world, in Pakistan as well. The pop icon that began with the Jackson 5, then branched on his own. We saw his album Thriller, then Bad, and so many others, and he became an international and global icon. Today is his 12th death anniversary.
Michael Jackson, an American singer, performer and songwriter, is known as one of the most successful artists of the world. His contribution to the music, dance and fashion made him a global figure for many decades and often referred as the king of pop. Michael Jackson was born on 29th August 1958 in Gary, the American state of Indiana. The 8th child of the Jackson family, Michael appeared on the music scene in 1964 along with his brothers as a member of their music group called Jackson 5. He began his solo performance in 1971 and established himself as a leading singer. In 1979, Michael released his album Off the Wall, which set new records of popularity. The year 1982 brought unprecedented fame to Michael when his record-breaking album Thriller made him an icon in the music industry. It was the best-selling collection with an estimate of around 70 million copies. After the launch of another album, Bad, Michael organized the most successful tour to the world and conducted many concerts globally. Dangerous was his another creative work in which 2 singles, Remember the Time and Black or White, got top positions in the music chart for many years. Michael Jackson was a multi-dimensional music icon, a songwriter who set the beat for many decades, a dancer with the fanciest feet on the street, and a singer who cut across all the boundaries of music and style. Jackson also earned good name as a global philanthropist and took active part in humane activities. He could not enjoy a successful marital life, and both the marriages ended in smoke. Michael was found dead in his bedroom on 25th June 2009. His cause of death is still a mystery.
And now finally, let's go to the International Day of Drug Abuse, in fact against drug abuse and illicit drug use. Tomorrow, the 26th of June, is going to be this International Day. More in the following report.
Every year, June 26th is observed around the world as the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. The day is devoted to eliminating drug misuse and addressing the structural causes that fuel the illegal drug trade. Share drug facts to save lives in the theme of the 2021 International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking aim to combat misinformation and encourage the exchange of drug facts. This theme is aimed at circumventing drug abuse-related health hazards, finding solutions to the global drug problem, evidence-based prevention, rehabilitation, and healing treatment. Across the world, many individuals, organizations, and communities come together every year to inform people about the problems faced by society due to illegal drugs. According to Anti-Narcotics Force, close to 8.9 million people in Pakistan are drug dependent, and health sources suggest drug-related complications claim 700 lives daily in the country, much higher than terrorism. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime Report 2021 suggested controlling the drug supply chain on the internet by removing drug adverts and listings and sharing information with law enforcement. Amidst the global pandemic of COVID-19, there is a growing sense of community and solidarity and protecting each other and ensuring health care for all. Though there is more public awareness on health in post-pandemic world, but menace of drug abuse and illicit trafficking is stubbornly thriving. Thus, the focus of global community should be on sharing research findings, evidence-based data, and life-saving facts.
It is pertinent to note that drug use is a global phenomenon, and we need to curtail it through a combined public-private partnership. Our role in a society, whether we be media persons or whether we be parents or children or friends or youth, we need to all come together to curb this menace of illicit drug use. This is the way our society will become stronger. This is the way our new generation will emerge as a stronger one. With that, we come to an end of Newsroom. Omar, Khalid bids you farewell from this last day of the week. We'll see you inshallah Monday with news stories and segments that matter to you and to us. Stay safe and get yourselves vaccinated. Allah Hafiz.